In essence, I am 25 years old female, grew up as the glass child in my family being the youngest of 5 siblings. Unlike the rest, I didn't grapple with severe health or mental issues, rendering me somewhat invisible amidst their struggles. Nevertheless, I harbored no resentment toward my parents or siblings. They never imposed on me or appropriated my belongings for the sake of others. Instead, I found solace in solitude, spending my days immersed in books or video games. At the age of 9, I befriended two girls who shared similar circumstances, forming our own tight-knit family unit. Throughout college and beyond, we remained inseparable, embarking on life's journey together. Despite the physical distance from my biological family, I never felt a void, as my chosen family provided the support and companionship I needed. However, last year brought an unexpected twist when my mother reached out just 3 days before Thanksgiving, an unusual occurrence given our typically distant relationship. Unaware of any plans for the holiday, I found myself caught off guard by her request for my attendance. Given the short notice and the logistics involved in traveling 2 states away, I politely declined, only to be met with disappointment and guilt-tripping tactics from my mother. Despite explaining my prior commitments and suggesting an alternative time to reconnect, my refusal seemed to fuel her frustration. After a thorough review of our interactions, I confirmed that no prior mention of Thanksgiving plans had been made. Despite my attempts to maintain a civil dialogue, the conversation ended abruptly when my mother hung up on me. In a subsequent exchange with my father, I reiterated my inability to return home for Christmas, citing prior engagements. While I expressed a genuine desire to reconnect after the holidays, it seemed my decision was met with disapproval from my parents. This ordeal left me grappling with conflicting emotions, torn between familial obligations and the autonomy to prioritize my own well-being. He threatened to stop paying for my college tuition, completely oblivious to the fact that I graduated 3 years ago. Infuriated by this guilt trip and empty threat, I decided to mute my phone and ignore his calls. Despite a couple more attempts from my mom, communication dwindled, with no texts or responses to my outreach efforts during Thanksgiving or Christmas. It's been radio silence since then, leaving me puzzled about their sudden interest in reconnecting. My two best friends, however, insist that I'm being unreasonable, asserting that they would welcome any outreach from their parents. Yet, given the circumstances, their silence feels more like a tantrum than genuine efforts to mend our relationship. Even if my father somehow misconstrued the situation regarding my college funding, his lack of awareness is astounding. Laughing at the absurdity of it all, I couldn't help but find some dark humor in his forgetfulness. Their sudden concern about missing special occasions after years of minimal contact raises suspicions about their motives. Perhaps they're contemplating their future care needs, but that's hardly my responsibility. While I empathize with the challenges of raising a large family, their neglect towards me is disheartening. It's not rocket science to allocate time for each child, yet somehow, I've consistently fallen through the cracks. But enough is enough. I refuse to let their shortcomings define my life. I sympathize with your situation, and I encourage you to live your life on your terms. Your parents' actions or lack thereof shouldn't dictate your happiness or sense of self-worth. It's time to prioritize yourself and embrace the freedom to forge your own path. If I were you, I'd ensure your brother in the residential facility has a designated guardian for the future, especially after your parents are no longer around. Make it clear that you're not the one for that responsibility. As for my own dilemma, earlier this month, I received news that I'm in contention for a promotion due to someone retiring next month. Last Friday, it was confirmed that the position was mine if I wanted it, complete with a substantial raise and a bonus. Excitedly, I shared the news with my wife on Valentine's Day. Initially, she congratulated me, but things took a nosedive shortly after. When she asked if I would now be earning enough for her to stop working, I thought she was joking. However, her serious follow-up caught me off guard, and in a moment of misunderstanding, I responded negatively, unaware she was serious. My attempt to clarify only exacerbated the situation, leading to tension between us. I made it clear that while I love her, I refuse to be the sole breadwinner in our marriage. If she wishes to reassess our financial dynamics or seek a less demanding role, we can discuss it, but I won't entertain the notion of bearing the entire financial burden alone. In response, She questioned my love for her and compared our situation to those of her friends whose husbands support them in staying at home. Frustrated, I made a regrettable comment suggesting she should have married one of those men, a remark I later apologized for. However, she remained distant, and our interactions have since been strained. Reflecting on the situation, I wonder if my response was too harsh. Although my stance on shared financial responsibility has always been unwavering, she was aware of my sentiments, but honestly, neither of us anticipated being in such a situation. Personally, I never envisioned it happening. She did outline the advantages of her being a stay-at-home spouse. However, the issue lies in my enjoyment of meal preparation, cooking, and cleaning. These tasks provide me with moments of relaxation as I listen to podcasts. I appreciate our current arrangement of splitting household chores, and I have no desire for her to take on additional responsibilities. While I understand her job is stressful, I suggested she explore options to alleviate her stress or seek less demanding employment if she desires. She expressed a desire to opt out, acknowledging the frustration of work. I empathized with her feelings, but emphasized the necessity of employment for adults. She pointed out that technically, we wouldn't both need to work with my new income. However, I reiterated my reluctance to be the sole earner, emphasizing that it doesn't diminish my role as a husband or a man. Despite my efforts to initiate dialogue, I'm at a loss. Moreover, since we don't have children, there seems to be no logical reason for her to consider staying home. I appreciate the support. Just because I'm getting a promotion doesn't mean she should quit. Dual incomes would expedite our long-term financial objectives, facilitating earlier retirement. Anyone resorting to emotional manipulation tactics like "don't you love me" is employing classic strategies of control. I wouldn't be surprised if she suddenly finds herself unemployed to justify staying home. Ultimately, I believe I deserve better, as this issue may resurface in the future. When things aren't going well, don't have kids with her. She's lazy and wants you to support her, freeload a wife. Good grief. You can save your raise and retire early. You guys need a long-term financial plan. She can't just dip out of the workforce. Look at how much you can make year over year by just investing your extra money. Also, you didn't say anything mean. Marriage is a partnership. She's not partnering, she's making a huge fuss out of not getting her way. My husband, 51, has a daughter from a previous marriage who's 19. My husband and I also have 2 kids together who are both toddlers. My stepdaughter has never liked me. My husband told me not to worry about it and explained that she was mad at him, not me. I met her soon after her parents' divorce, and I figured it had to do with that and her age. She was 15 when we met, and I thought she would grow out of it. However, it's been 4 years, and she still avoids me and is always angry when we're together. Both times that I was pregnant, my stepdaughter congratulated us but was completely uninvolved beyond that. She didn't come to the baby shower for my first child and didn't visit in the hospital either time. Even now, we've been trying to arrange for her to spend time with them, and she turns us down every time. Last week, we got into an argument. She came to our house to pick up a jacket she left last time she was here. She was only here for a few minutes, and my oldest asked her to play with her. My stepdaughter said that she didn't have time and left. I called her later and told her that she was out of line and could have been nicer about it. She replied word for word that it isn't her job to coddle them. I told her she's an adult and needs to act like one, and that she was a bad sister and was making my children feel like she didn't want them around, to which she just replied that she doesn't and hung up. My husband agrees with me. However, I've been telling some of my friends about it, and they told me I shouldn't have said what I said to my stepdaughter. Am I the idiot? Yeah, you are the idiot. She doesn't need to pretend like she cares that you were pregnant. She doesn't have to attend your baby shower. She doesn't have to want any relationship with her dad's new kids. You're not her mother, and she obviously doesn't view you as any motherly figure in her life. You trying to force her into something she has no desire for is inappropriate. You call yourself a stepmother, but in reality, you are her dad's wife, nothing more. I think you have to learn to accept that and stop trying to force your family on her. Makes me wonder, was that the reason for the divorce? Opie met stepdaughter's dad soon after her parents' divorce, and Opie was immediately pregnant after meeting her husband. Also, I have no evidence of this, but I get the strong impression that original poster is really upset because they expected stepdaughter to babysit, and that isn't happening. Total assumption on my part, but I wouldn't be surprised. Lady, wake up. Your stepdaughter doesn't want anything to do with her biotit's new family. A news flash here, she doesn't have to. So quit trying the we're all one happy family crap on her. From what you wrote, she hasn't been mean, quite the opposite. And she did act like an adult. She didn't want to play with your kid and stated so. So some advice, back off and leave his daughter alone. My brother was widowed young and had two girls at the time. They were 3 and 4 when their mom died. When they were 7 and 8, my brother married his second wife, and he also became a stepfather to his wife's preteen daughter. For the sake of making the post a little easier, my nieces will be Mia and Ella, and my stepniece will be Katie, the same age as Ella. About once a month, I have all 3 girls for a day of fun. I live near a water park, and I take my small kiddos, so taking the girls is easy, and it was a tradition that started with Mia and Ella and later included Casey when my brother became her stepfather. That's something that still continues. Today, my brother mentioned to me that he and his wife are concerned that Mia and Ella don't consider Casey their sister and really only tolerate her. This has come from comments Casey made to her mom about feeling like an only child still and feeling as though Ella and Mia don't really want her hanging out with them. My brother mentioned that Ella and Mia never fight with Casey, but they never seem to have a great time with her either. He said even when Ella and Mia are fighting, neither will go to Katie to hang out. They do their own thing or hang with friends. And when they're together, they will hang out, and Casey only joins if she asks them. They never ask her or make the effort to include her. My sister-in-law told me Ella and Katie should get along way better than they do. She told me Ella doesn't show any interest in Katie that way, though, despite them liking the same things. Both my brother and sister-in-law said they try to cultivate the individual relationships with Katie by taking Ella or Mia out someplace with her, but that doesn't seem to make Ella or Mia any closer to her. If anything, they go along with it out of obligation. My brother told me that Ella and Mia don't even notice when Katie goes home to her dad. Sometimes Katie splits her time between her mom and her dad, so she'll be there for a week, and then she's with her dad for a week. He said he never even realized how little attention they pay to Katie until recently. They did realize the closeness wasn't there, but the level at which they really don't notice her is alarming. He then told me I needed to help them out more with this. His requests confused me because I already take all 3 for a fun day out once a month, and I have babysat for them on occasion. I don't know what he expects from me when I have my own kids. I asked him what exactly he expected me to do, and he told me I should know what he expects and I should be a little more willing to help so Katie doesn't feel like she's on her own. He told me I was intentionally being obtuse. It became more tense than I expected, and it made me wonder, am I the idiot for asking him that? Not the idiot. He's upset that you asked because he doesn't know himself either. There's nothing you can do, nor do you have any obligation to do anything about this. This is something your brother and his wife have to work towards. It is in no way your issue. This is not a concern you have to work on. He didn't answer because he can't. He got defensive because he wanted to make this someone else's problem and deflect responsibility. You should help us out more. How? You should know how. You're not in the wrong here. Original poster. He's expecting you to know what he expects. Does he want you to take them to therapy instead of the water park? 'Cause therapy could help the situation. You're literally asking him directly because you can't read his mind. You definitely don't assume to know his thoughts, and that's why you ask. Please speak to your nieces and ask them how they feel. Background info. My husband is named Brad. Valerie is our daughter, who's in 8th grade, and Denise is Brad's sister. Valerie's school hosts a New York trip for graduating 8th grade. It's in late June, but the deadline to register for the trip and pay the fee is in 2 weeks. The problem is, the date conflicts with the out-of-state trip we take every 2 years to visit husband's sister, Denise, and parents. Brad's argument is that Valerie's at an age where her friendships now will most likely fade by the time she's an adult, and Denise and her grandparents are family. So she'll regret it and realize what he's insisting on now is the right choice. The thing is that Valerie isn't particularly close with Denise or her grandparents on Brad's side, and she's told me that she doesn't want to visit her family on Brad's side if it means missing her graduation trip this year. And it won't be the same as if she went to New York as an adult. I argued my side with Brad, and that Valerie will simply resent the trip to Brad's family if it means missing her graduation trip, as well as that we're all in good health and can reasonably expect that everyone will still be here when we visit again in 2 years. Brad insists that Valerie will realize when she's older that spending time with her family is the right choice and she will be thankful for it when she's an adult. Brad and I are still on opposing sides, and I've told him that I will sign off on Valerie's graduation trip and pay the fee out of my savings regardless of what he says. Am I in the wrong for putting my foot down, making sure our daughter gets to go on this trip against Brad's wishes? Valerie has already missed so many experiences and didn't even get a fifth grade graduation because of the global issue. She's worked so hard this year to improve her grades to be allowed on this trip, and I feel we need to make up for those lost events as much as possible. Not the idiot. Valerie deserves to go on this trip. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that she's going to treasure forever. Your in-laws aren't going anywhere, and your daughter barely has a bond with them due to the distance. Plus, this is a semi-annual trip, and like you said, she'll see them again in 2 years when you guys go again. I was in band in high school, and every 2 years there was a big trip. It alternated between Disney and a cruise to Bermuda. My parents didn't let me go to either one as punishment for some stupid stuff. I had a Facebook account without their permission, and that's why I wasn't allowed on one of the trips. I resent the heck out of it. I missed out on incredible memories with my friends. It's essential your daughter makes memories and builds confidence going out into the world. Send her to New York.